Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you. The OMFIF, you're going to want it. Don't forget about the Cybos conference that's going on for SWIFT. We also have Cristian Carlo Digital Dollar Project, Western Union. You're going to want it. Ripple partner news you can't live without. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.12 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 0.1%. Bitcoin, 27,300 plus. Ethereum, 1650 and change. We see Tether market cap, 82.2 billion plus. XRP is 50 cents at the moment. It's up 1% today on the 24-hour. It's up 6.5% on the 7-day. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for a place where to get the best gold, precious metals, silver in the market, it's Miles Franklin Precious Metals Investments right here. Let me tell you something. The best products to get, physical gold right here. Look at these golden eagles right here. And I'm about to get some more stuff. I'm going to tell you that right now. I got the buffalo. I'm looking at an eagle. And I'm also looking at some silver. Let me get over here to some silver. 1 ounce silver buffalo. Come on in. Yeah, I'm loving that right there. I like the buffaloes and the Indian coins. I really do. I love that. I'm part Native American Indian myself. I don't know if the audience knew that. Part Cherokee Indian. Probably no more than I am Irish or English, but there you have it. So if you want precious metals, it's Miles Franklin. The best prices, but you got to click the link. It's the use the email address, call the number, but give them the code DIG Gold. Use the code DIG Gold for the best prices. And if you're wondering about all the recent banks going down and all this, become your own bank and do it with Glint Pay, because gold is money is already a thing. People talk about, are they going to tokenize gold? You don't have to. Gold is already money right here on Glint. Buy, save, send, and spend with real gold instantly with Glint. It is an incredible way to arm yourself with your own alternative to banking. I've done it, and so many others have done it. I think it's over 150,000 or over 200,000 customers now. It's remarkable the rate of growth with that company. Click the link for Glint underneath the video. This right here, Japan's largest bank, Nomura, create a Bitcoin fund for institutional investors. Take a quick listen here. Shout out to Crypto Insight UK.
Breaking news. Japan's largest bank, Nomura, have opened a Bitcoin investment fund for institutions only. This fund is a long-only fund, meaning you can only go long. This comes just one day after Citigroup announced they're taking a step into blockchain as well. Look around you at who's building and you're still bearish.
There you have it right there. That goes back to one of my core principles of investing. I'm stacking my pennies next to their dollars. Not financial advice, just sharing my digital perspectives here. And we see news of expansion of utility and functionality here. We covered this when it was first brought about with Soroban, I think is how you say it. Prepare for Stellar's Protocol 20 upgrade. It's the biggest one yet. Introducing Soroban smart contracts. Things to know, testnet upgrade on September 20th, 1500 UTC. It says update Stellar related software. Stay updated in the Protocol 20 Discord channel, and you can go to other places for more information. And here's another post on that as well. Very excited for Stellar and XLM and the smart contract functionality coming to that network. Look, things are moving quickly, ladies and gentlemen. You might not think so because you're watching price, but you're looking at the wrong things. You got to look at the fundamentals. You know, I'm not into pump and dumps, right? I'm into things that are going to serve an industry by solving problems. Valente service provider, Ripple partner, doing exactly that. Also, premier FedNow settlement provider, hooked in globally. Shout out to Chad Steingraber for this. Day 61, and we're seeing connected to Africa. Citibank as well, which has just announced their own token, right? But that's okay. because they use Volante and we use Volante with Ripple as a partner. At some point, I think the interoperability and the settlement of friction between all these protocols can be aided and as a solution with the use of XRP and the XRP ledger and the ILP as well. BNY Mellon, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, just to name a few. And then we see this right here, because this is Citibank regulated networks. Take a look at this and this quick clip here. And this is a very nice breakdown. So take a listen here.
Bank says customers will not need to set up their own digital wallets and will instead be able to access the service through the bank's existing systems. So it is safe to assume that the underlying technology, the underlying infrastructure here is FedNow. It is not clear, but they're telling you that you don't even need to create a separate digital wallet for these tokens. As the Federal Reserve repeatedly pointed out, and I explained this in detail in my article, banks' customers won't even know that they're using the new instant payment system, FedNow. It is not something that you have control over. It is not something that you can choose to sign up for. It is effectively baked into every single banking transaction from now on. Here's what one of Citigroup's employees, Global Services President Shamir Khalik, commented. This development goes hand in hand with our industry-leading work on the regulated liability network to create interoperable digital asset solutions on a multi-bank basis. But make no mistake, even though this product is being offered to business clients at this time, it means that the infrastructure, the underlying technology has already been created, it's been user tested, and now that it's being launched on a more of a limited scale, it is soon coming to individual bank customers. I'd say that it is safe to assume that it is a matter of time. This is a step in a long process of moving to transferable digital assets, or as Citi refers to them, tokenized deposits. If it seems as though this announcement just came out of nowhere, that's only because the R&D phase, the research and development phase, the creation of these new digital systems, that's not being announced publicly. We're just misinformed. According to Bloomberg, the new offering comes on the heels of Citigroup's participation, along with a unit of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and global banks, in a months-long test
of regulated liability network. It says, which allows banks to simulate issuing digital money representing their customers' own funds before settling through central bank reserves on a distributed ledger. That test proved to the Fed that these so-called digital dollars have the ability to improve wholesale payments, and that the use of the ledger didn't alter the legal treatment of the deposits. You have to start wondering, does the XRP ledger play a role, the private ledger for central banks? Does it play a role in the regulated liability networks? We don't know the answer, but boy, I cannot wait to find out. Here we see as a reminder here, Volante, who is obviously working with FedNow and that new system and the regulated liability network, certainly is using, as they advertise on their channels, Swift, GPI, Swift Go, Ripple, Visa B2B, Visa Direct, MasterCard Send, proving that we're going to see multiple solutions going forward in the future. This is where we're going. This is very exciting to me. And I want to show you a couple clips in here. First of all, I want to take you to a clip, and I have the time already mapped out. Shout out to Tony from Thank You Crypto for a great sit down with Chris Giancarlo and Kevin Mole from Western Union. They do touch on the recent Western Union tweak that was going around, which was actually very old, and they acknowledged that that was not something new. That's very old, and if something new happens, they will bring it to light and let us all know about it. But what I want to take you to here is an excellent remark about what we need to do going forward. And this is Chris Giancarlo talking about from the Digital Dollar Project chair and why it's so important that we get this right. Listen to what he says here.
It shouldn't be made here in the United States because we don't know enough yet. But even if we never do one, that doesn't mean we can just insulate ourselves from dealing with CBDCs. We can't.
So he's talking about whether the USA decides to do a CBDC or not. They can't just choose to not do one, essentially, is what he's saying. But listen to the words that he's saying here.
It's coming. Do we want American values part of that, the global protocols or not? If we do, then we need to be present at those global conclaves. And similarly, stablecoins are coming. And I don't think enough thought has gone there into how do we make sure that stablecoin operators are insulated from government and political pressure in the same way that our social media platforms censored speech about the origins of COVID or COVID vaccine, what have you. Whatever one may feel about that debate, isn't it troubling that politicians were able to influence those platforms as to what they could say and what they couldn't say?
Go, Chris.
Well, imagine if those same politicians could go to stablecoin operators and say, hey, unless you do what we want, we're going to pull your license, right? Unless you ban this activity or censor that activity. So again, I'm not accusing stablecoin operators of anything but the best intentions, but how do we make sure they don't come under that pressure in the future? So
what a remarkable comment from Chris Giancarlo. He even says at an earlier spot in this interview here, he says also, maybe it's not the value of the digital dollar as far as price value that we worry about so much as the values. That's right. The values that make up the integrity of a digital dollar, like the freedom, right? Like the Bill of Rights, like the Constitution, like your right to privacy to that digital money. And if you do that, Chris's message is, if you get the values, the integrity of that design of that digital dollar, albeit if it comes from the government or a private sector, that you have the right regulation, the right notion of law enforcement involved to where it can exist and not infringe on any citizen of the world's right to own it, hold it, use it. And you would create a demand in a world that is really headed towards more a digital yuan style of complete control and programmability. If you get that right, you could further extend the life of the US dollar as the global reserve currency for a few generations to come, should you get the design and the values of integrity to the design correct. So well said by Chris Giancarlo. Now, with that being said, I want to show you a piece of this clip here. Enhancing domestic payments with wholesale CBDC. OMFIF's Digital Monetary Institute, in partnership with Visa, explore a path to improvement in wholesale payments and the complementary roles of the public and private sectors. Discussion, the motivation behind central banks' interest in wholesale CBDCs, understanding the various roles of domestic payments participants. It says exploring strategies to facilitate compatibility with other systems and jurisdictions. This made me think of regulated liability networks and FedNow and that interoperability that's going to have to be there to deal with a bunch of different companies, entities, banks, and institutions, SMEs, all using these networks. And I want to bring you in right about here to listen to the last piece.
Which is not the simplest issue to tackle. So we have to think it beforehand. And knowing that also technology can help us a lot because with smart contracts, you can determine, for example, the access which you want to give or the conditions upon you would want a transaction to be achieved. So we have a lot of area to work on. And I would very much agree on the fact that it's probably going to be very difficult, even in the medium term, to have this global platform, but maybe think a bit more about having some regional platforms. And Mariana is really a case where we add on top of these exchanges of CBDCs, we also have this pool of liquidity to facilitate cross-border exchanges and to optimize liquidity.
Regulated networks, pools of liquidity for cross-border. Are you hearing this? Now I want to go back here to Chris Giancarlo because there's another piece of this that I want you to hear him talk about.
my message, Tony, to you got such a great listenership. I mean, oh my God, your listenership are the most active people in the Twitter sphere. And my message is we need to be active. We don't have the luxury of picking or choosing the future, of saying, well, we like stablecoins, so that's the way the future should be, because the future is going to be all of the above. We're like in a Cambrian ecological explosion of
That's a Chris Larson phrase right there. Cambrian explosion.
activity, and the future is going to be all of the above. And we need to make sure that we're out there expressing what our values. And of course, there's the decentralized world, and we need to make sure that governments that launch a CBDC don't try to ban, as China's doing, decentralized words. So we need to think broadly about the future and be as active as you can to bring these values of a democratic and free society to all of this innovation. And that's my message to your great listenership.
Well, I tell you, that's a great message there, Chris. No doubt about it. And we're picking up what you're putting down. And then we want to pick this up while we're picking things up, ladies and gentlemen. Recently acquired Medico by Ripple is going to tell you in this little quick clip that institutions are done testing and large organizations are ready to go live. And it does appear that 24-25 may be some interesting years indeed. Take a listen.
Context than most to comment on that.
Yeah, so I think there's been a big shift in focus from let's say experimentation. So it's taken a long time to get out of that experimentation and out to thinking about live projects. A lot of our clients now are actually not even bothering to think about experimentation. Like the experimentation is basically done on a theoretical level, but there's very little POCs going on, especially in the big financial services institutions. What they want to do is they want to get something and put it live and then get the value from it. I think it's been quite good, the context.
Yeah, it's been quite good. And they're ready to go live is what he's saying. And we know Medico provides institutional custody. Let's take a look at this. I remember, I think it was Brian Knight is his name on CNBC. I believe that's his last name. I know it's Brian. And he used to have a saying when he talked about charts. And he was talking about the Ripple chart one day. And he said the longer the base, the higher in space. Well, if that remains true, and we do not know, but if it remains true to what he's saying, this is the longest base that we've seen for XRP in its life. 68 months compared to 3 months, 7 months, 27 months, 7 months. 68 months. If that phrase for analysts, technical analysts, it remains true, the longer the base, the higher in space. What in the world are we getting ready to see? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'm not going anywhere. Hit that like and subscribe. Check out all the links underneath the video. I'll catch all of you on the next one.